The best thing about mobile photography is obviously that it's always with you.
The immediacy. I see a picture with my eyes, I then try and capture that with my smartphone, and I can push, pull, play around with it straight away.
Cameras are getting smaller and smaller, but they're still not really that convenient to carry around with you, even, so-called pocket-sized ones. But a phone obviously is designed to go in your pocket. It's that ability to have a camera that is with you everywhere, but more importantly than that, a camera that's always connected to the internet, pretty much wherever you are.
It's the whole thing of seeing something and sharing it in practically no time at all. That's a real appeal for me.
Take photos wherever you are, but also share photos or tag photos wherever you are, and that is extremely compelling.
It's the flexibility, the mobility that mobile photography gives me that I really enjoy about it.
And I think that's what is really driving photography now.
Mobile's changed photography in a number of ways. I mean, in particular, the ability to share something that you're seeing straight away.
It's really encouraged my use of trying to get the picture right in camera on location, because I really want to share it from that location. I mean, do you remember when Instagram first started and you had to, if you wanted to tag the location, you had to post from that location? There was none of this doing it after the event and searching for a location and saying, well, I was in America last week, so why not put in that location? You had to do it actually as you posted it. So you had to be happy with your photo as you took it.
Even when we had small compact cameras in the olden days, you would still see something, take a picture, but it might be days, weeks, hours at best before you were able to share that with your friends and family. But with mobile, you can see something, you can share it, you can get feedback straight away.
And that, I think, encourages you to learn about very simple processing in camera, or no processing at all, which is my approach. I really like to take a very pure approach to photography, try and get it right as you take the picture, so you're spending minimal effort on it. I mean, after all, you want to take more photos, you want to enjoy the moment. You don't want to, well, I don't want to spend all my time doing post-processing. So that's how it's really changed mine. It makes you a sharper photographer, I think. The thing that's better about using phones than traditional cameras is the connected aspect for me.
I think with mobile photography, there's also a mindset thing as well. It is about wherever you are, whatever you happen to be doing, there's a way of capturing that moment, and whether it's in stills or in video, whether you're sharing it to social media or sticking it in a photo album or a Christmas calendar, as we tend to do with our family shots.
Also having a big screen. I mean, we're so used to our phones have got 4, 5, 6-inch screens on them, or even small tablets, whereas a normal digital camera would only have typically a 3-inch, if you're lucky, 3.2-inch screen. So it's really nice, first of all, to compose with a very large screen, an interface that is designed from the outset for touch controls, whereas a lot of cameras, even top-end stills cameras, are still struggling with touch controls a bit. Some things work, some things don't. So you have this user interface, this experience that's much friendlier. It's been refined so well.
It's in your mind that if something special happens, you can take it, capture it, share it straight away. And in a way, that's about much more than the image. It's about this sharing culture, this sharing society that we've become, and mobile's a key enabler for that.
It's so easy to get that image up to the internet, whether you're sharing or even if you're just backing up your pictures, you're synchronizing them, say, to Dropbox. That, to me, is so much easier with mobile photography. Most cameras these days do come with built-in Wi-Fi, and a lot of them are coming with Bluetooth now, so that allows you to connect them more easily, but you still have to connect them. You have to connect your phone, you have to make a conscious effort to connect it to your phone in order to then send those pictures on somewhere. Again, whether you're sharing or backing them up. And it is a conscious process. It's getting better, but it's still something that takes time. You have to pause and think about it. But with the phone, you take the picture and it's on the device that is then going to share it or back it up for you. So it's so easy.
Of course, there are a number of different social platforms out there that let you share photos, and each one of them's got a slightly different flavour.
I really liked Instagram when it was a square format, and it was really strict about that. I think it kind of lost a bit of its appeal. For a while, I thought, well, I'm not going to embrace the wider or taller shapes. And then, of course, I did like everyone else. But I still try and shoot a lot of things in the square format. So I'm looking for specific patterns that I know are going to work well in that frame.
It's a photo-first social network. I don't tend to share so many family pictures on there, whereas other social networks like Facebook, where it's predominantly my closer friends and family, I will share. So I think the difference for me is Facebook, it's, hey, look, this is this amazing place or this fun thing that me and my family did. The shot may look pretty, it may not, but it's more of a personal connection. With Instagram, where it's people who I don't know who are looking at those pictures, it's probably more about the beauty of that picture or the special feeling that moment could inspire in people who are looking at it. So it's about the emotional connection in a way.
The other thing you're looking for is obviously a picture that can be consumed well and will appeal well on a smaller screen. You know, this picture, if you're shooting for Instagram, it's highly unlikely it's going to be viewed on a tablet or on a laptop or a TV or a larger screen. It's going to be viewed on a phone. So you have to look for images that are going to appeal on that format. And yeah, you know, you end up taking different pictures depending on how you want to use them. But that would be the same if you were printing or even if you were shooting for magazines or for billboards. You shoot for the means that you're going to present it, for the medium that you're going to present it in.
I like to have a palette of apps to try and play around with certain things. I mean, there are brilliant general use editors like Snapseed, for example, which is available on a number of different platforms, but that lets you push, pull, and play around with an image to your heart's content, whether it's just changing the levels of light and contrast, desaturating an image, or changing the perspective altogether. Of all of the apps that I use, a general purpose editor like that probably gets the most use. But then there are other apps as well. If there's a particular look that I'm looking for, then I might use an app that can introduce lens flares or introduce clouds and planets into the skies if I'm trying to create something a bit surreal. It really depends on what I'm after, but I've got loads of apps. Maybe some of them I only use once or twice a year. Others I'll use every day.
You know, I don't actually use any additional apps. I use the basic camera apps in the phones and the basic filter set that comes with Instagram. And I very rarely even deploy any of those filters, maybe just a small amount of vignetting to darken the picture in the corners, a small amount of extra clarity just to give it some bite. I don't really like to do that, but when you're looking at a stream of photos on Instagram, if you don't apply that kind of extra boost, that extra punch, then your photos can look a little flat compared to others and people may just scroll straight past them. But generally, I try not to use any additional apps or accessories. I like to keep it very, very pure. Just use what's in the phone itself. Just use the camera app, and that's about it.
Of course, with all the benefits of mobile as a platform for capturing images, there are some downsides as well. And these mobile phones are quite light, and they're quite susceptible to things like camera wobble. And if you're trying to capture something like a landscape that doesn't move very much, then even just the act of pressing the shutter can make that image less sharp, can introduce a bit of blur to it, which you might not want. So having a tripod, having something that lets you put your camera down on a flat surface or one of those grips that lets you tie it to a fence or something, that's one of the accessories that I probably get most use out of, just so that I can make my images that I want to be as crisp and sharp as they can be.
In terms of actual physical accessories, I don't really use any of those either. I very rarely use lights. I have sometimes asked other people with phones to turn on the torch on the back of their lights to do a bit of lighting. That can be fun for some food photography. But even then, I'd much sooner just move my plate of food or my coffee to a window and get some natural light, or use the lights within the actual place where you are. So I'm really pure in that regard. I'd love to recommend some accessories or apps, but I just don't really use them.
And then the other thing is lenses as well. Mobile phones, as things stand, do not have a great variety in focal length. You do get some phones that have got 2 different lenses, many of them still have 1. But if you want to be able to get closer to your subject, but there's some physical limitation, you can't get closer than this fence that's in front of you, having the ability just to have a telephoto lens or a wide-angled lens if you're wanting to capture as much of a view as possible, that's really, really useful. So I would say that a good mount, whether it's a tripod or something that grips onto a surface, and a set of lenses to experiment with are probably my go-to accessories.
I really like to get the result in camera without any processing. I like to use the minimum of accessories, occasionally use filters in some of my physical filters in some of my bigger camera photography, but even then it feels almost dishonest to me. I like to record the scene as I'm seeing it. For me, it's not about modifying the scene, it's about spotting lighting or patterns or moments that you can capture and present without modification. Other people's style of photography is to change it a lot, and that's fine. It's a different thing, but it's not what I'm personally interested in. So I'll look for something, think, I really like the way the light is falling on that, or I like the patterns, I think that would work well in this format, and then just take it and do very, very little with it. So it's part about taking a purer approach, but it's also about taking an easier approach. I'm quite a lazy photographer.